Guys, it's me, Halloween Dan, coming at you today with another little quick video about some more props. It's a rainy, wet, kind of thundery day here in the UK, so I love it. Yeah, so it seemed like the perfect opportunity to have a little talk about just a few props that are actually coming to the UK. That's right, we've had, don't want to say our first, but probably our first mainstream high street store that is bringing revealed just a few things on their website that they're bringing to the UK for 2024. And that store is The Range. Let's do this. Now, before I get too far into the video, I want to mention a couple of things. First is, please hit that like and subscribe button because I'm so close to 1,000 I can practically taste it.
I can almost taste it.
I probably just lost some subscribers there. The second disclaimer I have to put before I start talking about these props is, I suppose I kind of almost want to apologise to the UK. Sorry, UK. I do a lot of videos where I talk about North American props because they're awesome. And I'm a Halloween guy, so I talk about anything that's Halloween related. And they are just the best props around. There's no denying that. But I've become so invested in the US props that occasionally I neglect those that are coming to the UK. And I often do this thing which I shouldn't do, which is I compare and contrast. The markets for the UK Halloween and the US Halloween are so vastly different, and the gap is broadening, which I'm kind of sad about. I would love to get to a point in this country where we had props like you have from Home Depot and Lowe's and all the other cool places that you get in the US. But that's not going to happen anytime soon here in the UK. So what I need to do is, I suppose I need to learn to just kind of respect what we do get here in the UK and not constantly be dragging it down. Because do you know what? Some of these props, yes, they're simplistic, and there are always going to be props that I don't like. But they have a place in the market. They're available to us, and some of these stores go above and beyond to make sure that we get to have something to show that we're celebrating Halloween for Halloween, which in its own right should be celebrated. So I've got to stop comparing what we get here in the UK compared to what you guys get in the US, because there is a massive difference. Of course there is, but that doesn't mean that these props are the worst things ever. Some of them are, but not all of them are. Some of them are actually pretty cool, and I need to learn to respect them a little bit more and give them their due. And one of the stores that in the past perhaps I've been a little bit harsh about, not overly, but a little bit, is The Range. If you're from North America, you won't know what The Range is. It's basically a high street store in the UK that sells a bit of everything. It's seasonal stuff, it's garden stuff, it's, you know, cleaning stuff, it's everything under one roof, patio furniture, pools, everything. And then seasonal stuff like Halloween and Christmas and Easter and all that kind of stuff. And here in the UK, they have a massive reputation amongst UK haunters for being one of those first stores that you can guarantee will keep at least a relatively decent range of Halloween props. And they do. Even the small store that's closest to me keeps a pretty good range of props, decorations, smaller items, and some slightly bigger animatronics and props. Now, these props are not all singing or dancing. They aren't the most advanced things in the world. But you know what? They get the job done. One of my absolute favourite props is one of theirs, which is the groundbreaker pumpkin-headed prop that I got, I think, 2 years ago now. It's a great prop. It's really simple. You sit it on the ground. It's battery driven. It triggers constantly. People love it. And it gets the job done. Everyone knows what it is. And you know what? It cost me £35. You can't go wrong with that price point, right? And this is another point that I've got to make. Yeah, these things might not be as good as something that's coming out of Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever, but the price point is completely different. Some would say you get what you pay for, and there's truth in that. But you know what? If I'm just trying to add a little spooky element to my horn, I would rather pay £50 than £500 for something that's really, really cool, but really is only having the same effect on people as they walk past. It's still only something to kind of make someone jump for a second or surprise someone a little bit. And as I've said before, sometimes simple is best. You can spend a lot of money on props and animatronics, and they sometimes don't have the effect that you want them to do. Sometimes people are just so overawed by these massive things that they don't actually scare anybody. And sometimes the really simple props that have cost you almost nothing as just sort of secondary pieces are the ones that actually work the best. So I just wanted to get that out of the way because I think I've gained myself somewhat of a reputation, particularly here in the UK, as the guy who doesn't like UK props. And it's not true. I have a lot of props that I've bought from stores here in the UK. It's just that when you compare them to US props, they do come off as the poorer cousins, without a doubt, but they still are good in their own way. Which leads me in, finally, we got there, to talking about the props themselves, the ones that have been revealed. First of all, I've just got to give a shout out to my friend Harry J Vlogs. He's a UK-based YouTuber who talks about all kinds of different UK props for Halloween, particularly the range. And he alerted me to this the other day, said, "Have you seen these, Dan?" And I was like, "I've seen some, but actually, thanks very much." So I've used some of his pictures that he sent me to talk about these props, and they're actually pretty damn cool. So we're going to start off with my least favourite of the range, which, no surprises, is a clown.
I hate that clown.
Simply referred to as the animated standing clown. This guy, I think, is about 6 foot. He's a clown. And my guess is he's not going to do an awful lot. We might get some arm movement out of it. The eyes will probably light up with like red LEDs. We've seen clowns like this from the range before. They always seem to use a very similar face mold every single year, but just paint it an ever so slightly different colour. If you like clowns, at least this is a standing clown. It would act rather than a hanging prop. So this would actually look pretty good if you love your clowns, but obviously this isn't for me. The next thing I just wanted to briefly talk about is called the Standing Animated Reaper. Now again, I'm not sure what the animation on this guy is, and I think he'll only be like a 5 foot prop. He doesn't look very big. He clearly hasn't got any legs in this picture. But from the picture, I would guess the animation is that the arms move ever so slightly. Perhaps he talks. We do get a lot of these very simplistic Reaper props that just sort of say a few phrases. And actually, they're pretty cool. This guy, for a pretty cheap little Reaper, is pretty cool. You can't beat that price, £40 for a little standing Reaper. And this is exactly what I mean. These things might not be the most amazing things in the world, but they are well priced. So £40 for a little Reaper, I think that's pretty cool. Then we've got a prop which I'm not sure, I can't remember if we had some version of this last year. It sounds familiar, but I think it might have been from Asda rather than from the range. And this is the hanging light up mummy. It's about just under 6 foot in height. Obviously it's designed to be hung upside down, and it obviously has some sort of light up feature within it. It's only $22.99, so it would be a great background piece. You could have 2 or 3 of these. I'm thinking of having 2 or 3 of these to hang around where my spider is. I think that would look really cool. Again, this isn't the most exciting prop in the world, but really, really good just as a background piece. And $22.99 you can't beat for such a big wrapped up mummy prop. A lot of people seem quite excited by this LED haunted lamppost. We've seen a few different versions of this. I think the Ranger brought out one of these before, and I think it was Home Bargains that brought a version of this out a couple of years ago. They always go down really well in the UK. This is another one. The only thing about it is it says it has a light up element, and the most obvious place for that light up element to be is in the lamppost. But when you read it, it says that inside the lamppost there's a little figurine of a witch. So perhaps the witch lights up, I don't know. I don't actually like that. I would have preferred it just as a lamppost that lit up with a creepy colour, say purple or green. Either way though, it's not too bad. It's about 5 foot in height, not the biggest lamppost. I'd want it maybe a bit bigger, but it's pretty good if you're just going to put it in amongst your other props, maybe as a graveyard. £50 for it might be pushing it in my eyes, but it's not too bad. Though I would say there are better versions of this out there. We've got this pumpkin-headed guy. I haven't got a lot of information about it because when I tried to go on the website to actually see these things, I was told they were on there, and then when I went to look, I couldn't find them. So I don't know whether they were on there very briefly, or maybe some people have better access to their website than I do. I'm not overly sure, but all I've got is the pictures. And we've got this pumpkin-headed guy. It's like a white, almost skeletal pumpkin head. Very good face mold on this, actually. I quite like this. It looks, again, like another 6-foot prop. I don't know what the animation will be on this. It doesn't look like it has any mouth movement. Perhaps the arms move a little. Either way, it's a pretty simplistic prop, and I imagine it will probably be around the £20 to £30 mark again, as most of their props usually are. But in amongst this range of props, there are two that I think have real potential to be really popular. One is called the Halloween Standing Dragon. And again, I'm guessing it doesn't have any dimensions in the pictures I've got, but it looks as though it could be like a 6-foot prop at least. It looks pretty impressive, I have to say. I have a dragon, and I honestly, the only thing I don't like about my dragon is I don't know where to use it. Every year I love my dragon, but I don't know how to effectively use it because dragons are really hard to tie into an overall story. From the picture we've got, the face mold on this thing does look really good. I'll be really interested to see what the animation is. I seriously doubt there's anything too massively going on. I don't think the wings are going to expand or anything. The only thing I found a bit confusing is it's described as a dragon, and then you look at it and it's got skeleton hands. Why has a dragon got skeleton hands? That doesn't make any sense. But then, you know, without being harsh, this sometimes is what we get in the UK. We get a lot of these sorts of props that have cool elements, but also questionable elements that you kind of go, scratch your head like, why has this dragon got hands? That doesn't make any sense to me. But either way, forget the hands. It's an actually pretty good looking dragon prop. I'll be very interested to see what the actual animation is. And it's £50. You know, it's £50. It's pretty cheap. It's pretty good for that price. But I have to say, the one that I think has the most potential to be cool, but until we see some animation of it, I can't really judge fully, is one that's simply called the Haunted Standing Lady. Now, this is one of those props, again, you see a lot of this sort of stuff in the UK. It's a very, I have to say, the face mold on this is not a good face mold. It's a pretty cheap face mold. It just looks like a bad mannequin with some slightly spooky makeup on, stood in like a Victorian dress, very simplistic. It looks maybe like the eyes light up with LEDs. This is something we get very commonly here in the UK. This kind of very simplistic, almost doll-looking props. But what's interesting about the Haunted Standing Lady is that this seems, at least, to have a pop-up feature. And that pop-up feature is revealed in the next picture, where suddenly there's another head under the rather tranquil mannequin-like doll head. That's obviously a kind of creepy witch or perhaps a zombie, definitely a dead creature that's underneath the head. So clearly this has got the action of 1 minute it's a doll and you're like, okay, that's a bit creepy. And then the head pops up, revealing this more creepy, dark, spooky, whether it be a zombie or a witch head underneath the doll's head. And I think that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool for a prop we would get from the range. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. UK haunters, tell me, have we seen anything like that before? Because I don't think we have from the range. It looks really good. And I have to say, if the action is a quick one, rather than a slow pop, I hope it's not that. I hope it is a quick pop out. I might be tempted to buy this. Because again, the price point is good. This is £60. This is not a lot of money. And stick that in the back of your haunt somewhere, or I don't know, even though it doesn't necessarily tie in with anything else I've got, it could actually potentially be pretty cool if it is genuinely a popping action out of the neck. I don't know though whether it is or not. Still, simple, simplistic, but cool. There are loads of other little smaller trinket pieces and decorating pieces and all kinds of other smaller props that will be available from the range, and I've seen some pictures of some things already. And later in the season, I'm sure we'll have even more things revealed from the range. They are one of them stores, they pride themselves on getting in there first. We will probably see things on the shelves late July, early August time from the range. And they do a good range of things, I have to say. I'm always quite impressed, and I own quite a few of their things. They're great filler props, they're great for just adding a bit of spooky background stuff. I don't know whether I would want to build an entire horn around their props, but they certainly have their place in the market. And actually, some of these are pretty good. So well done, the range. I hope to see more. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching today, and I will see you in the next one. Keep spooky. Bye.